Hey friends, welcome back to Homestead on a Prayer. As you can see, today we're out in my kind of wild, late summer, kind of switching to fall garden. And we have reached the time of the year when the garden is a little bit out of control. It's kind of decided it's going to do its own thing, and there isn't really, honestly, all that much I can do about it at this point. And to be completely honest, I'm a little bit over working in the garden, working in the heat this time of year. If you're anything like me, then probably at the beginning of the season, you are just full of ideas and you just see the potential and you have limitless energy just to do all the garden tasks that need to be done. And as the season goes on and the garden grows and produces and gardening starts to get a little bit more challenging as the season goes on, you know, sometimes the pests increase, the disease definitely increases, and there's just, it's just a lot, especially when the summer heat catches up with you. So for me anyway, I've kind of reached that point in the season where the garden is going to kind of make the decisions and I'm just kind of along for the ride. Now I know you've seen hints of this before, but the tomatoes over here in my side yard garden are really pretty much completely out of control at this point. And even this one here, this is my Wisconsin 55. This tomato's been unruly for a while, but it was still producing well and healthy. As you can see, it's still got quite a few tomatoes on it, but it's starting to really succumb to disease. Now over here, I do have one tomato plant that's mostly upright and generally healthy. You can see this one has some green tomatoes on it, and I am hopeful to still get a reasonable harvest from this tomato plant. But as you can see, the garden has definitely decided to be a little less disciplined at this time of year. Now honestly, my plan was, or in my filming schedule, today I was actually supposed to film a full garden tour and take you guys all through the garden and show you everything that's going on. But I kind of found that, along with feeling a little bit of garden burnout, I didn't really have the energy to do a full garden tour. And then when I came out and saw the garden, I saw that there's a lot of stuff going wrong in the garden. And honestly, I should probably tidy a little bit of that up before we do a full tour. I'm not promising that I will. In a week or so, if you see a garden tour and the garden is still a complete mess, then that's another case of having more plans than I actually have time to do them. But as you can see, my garden, you know, it's still beautiful. It's kind of wild and unruly, as I said, but it still definitely has a little bit of a wild beauty to it. I still do enjoy it. So my plan is just to make the most of the garden as long as it lasts. Now over here, I can see tasks I have to do. I did fill this all with fall lettuce seeds, and honestly most of them germinated and looked really good. If you saw my last garden tour, you saw that a lot of these were hit with, we had a really crazy rainstorm right after they sprouted, and I think it was too much for them. So I do have to come out and replant those seeds. While I think it is really important to know your limits when it comes to, well, really when it comes to anything, but today I'm talking specifically about the garden, it is important to know your limits, and you don't want to do more than you can really handle, because that really is a pretty quick way to kind of kill the love of gardening. But that being said, I really do want to prioritize getting a little bit started for the fall garden, just because as the weather starts to cool off, there is something just really satisfying about still being able to go out to your garden and harvest some food, even when it's getting cold outside, even when it's getting dark, even in many cases when you're already getting a frost. Just being able to still go out to the garden and just harvest a little bit of fresh food, there's just something that I really love about that. So that is how I am encouraging myself to keep going with planting the fall garden. Even though part of me just kind of wants to let the garden go until next season, just thinking of my future self and planting this fall garden is kind of a gift that I can give to my future self. Now, it's not going to take me very much time to come out here and just plant a few lettuce seeds to replace those seedlings that were damaged. And I'm going to take a look through the main garden too, see if there's any other seeds that I need to resow. Now I am respecting my limits, because what I honestly try to do most years is to start seedlings inside and then come out here and transplant. I didn't get to it this year. This was a really busy year and there was a lot going on. I didn't have the mental capacity to do that this year. So I decided that I was going to be okay with just direct sowing the fall garden. That will probably mean that I will not get as much of a fall garden. I won't get as much of a harvest. But that was what I had to do kind of for the sake of my sanity, and that's an important thing too. So despite the fact that it's the end of the season, I'm kind of feeling the end of the season slump, part of my brain is kind of shifting into fall mode, I am going to make a point to plant some seeds today. So I did bring out a few containers of some fall hardy seeds that I want to plant. I've got my lettuce container here, which I'm going to replant all throughout this bed here. I brought out kale and cabbage. We do need to go over to the main garden and see if the kale and cabbage that I direct sowed over there did in fact germinate. If not, I need to re-sow some of these and just some Asian greens as well. So we'll just take a quick look at the garden. We'll get some of these seeds planted, and I will be investing in my future self and my future harvest, even though it's not really something that I feel like doing at the moment. Now, lettuce is a great crop for the fall garden, especially if you get certain cold hardy types of lettuce. As you can see, this one is a winter lettuce mix. Got a North Pole lettuce. This tango leaf lettuce is supposed to be very cold tolerant. And I'm just gonna try a few others as well. So I'm just gonna sow a variety of lettuce seeds throughout this garden bed here, and we are going to hope that these germinate again and actually do produce for us. So because I'm planting this in the summer and it is fairly hot out, lettuce doesn't like to germinate when it's really hot. So I'm going to sow this pretty thickly. I'm going to just make a line here on the front of the bed, and I'm going to sow my winter lettuce mix all on the side of the bed here. So lettuce overall is a fairly cold tolerant crop, but you'll find certain lettuces marketed as winter lettuces or summer lettuces, and that basically gives you a clue as to their different cold and heat tolerances. So because I live here in Connecticut, where we do have fairly cold winters, at this time of year, you know, it's basically edging into late August, I'm going to want to sow at this time some cold tolerant lettuces because I want to keep these going after the first frost if I can. So this tango leaf lettuce is one that is new to me, but it says that the lettuce is cold hardy and can overwinter without any protection. That sounds like something I definitely want to be growing here in Connecticut, so I'm going to plant some of this too. So I'm just going to do the same thing here, all along this side of the bed. I'm going to make a line and plant some tango lettuce seeds. Now I tend to plant my lettuce on the thick side anyway because I like to harvest as baby greens rather than full-size lettuce heads. But this time of year when it's hotter out, lettuce is a little more resistant to germinating in hot weather, so I'm going to plant even more thickly than normal. All right, let's head on into the main garden and take a look at how things are going in there. So there's definitely signs of disease thriving in my garden. You can see there's powdery mildew on my zucchini plants. You can see there's blight on my tomato plants. So the garden is definitely struggling a little bit as well. Over here, you can see my tomato jungle. Now this, admittedly, I have no one to blame for this but myself. This is not nature, this is just me not having a chance to get out here and tie up these tomato plants yet. They're a little bit crazy. There usually comes a certain point in the season when I am happy to let my garden keep going as long as it can kind of take care of itself. You know, those tomatoes over there, I am still planning to get out here and tie them up. But honestly, even if I don't, I may still get some yield from them, and that will be despite my lack of care. So I am planning to come out here and tie the tomato plants up. The problem is that the more time that goes by without me getting to it, the more of a challenging job it's going to be. So I really do need to prioritize that within the next couple days. Yeah, life is just pretty busy this time of year. So hopefully I'll do a garden tour for you guys in a couple days, and you'll see, and then at that point you'll hopefully get to see my tomato patch all nice and neatened up. So we'll see. I'm not going to make any promises because yeah, that's just where I'm at this time of year. Is we're just getting by and doing the best we can. So this garden bed here, this is where my spring lettuce grew, and you can see that I've got some little seedlings that I planted coming up. It looks like I've had very sporadic germination, so this is another spot where I do need to come out here and plant some more seedlings, or plant some more seeds. So this garden bed out here is one that I am planning to cover with plastic as the temperatures get cold. So I want to plant my most cold hardy stuff in this bed here because it'll have the best chance of surviving into winter the longest. So I'll probably plant a little bit more of my cold tolerant lettuce out here. I also brought a packet of Asian greens out here, or a container of Asian greens. And a lot of Asian greens you'll find are really cold tolerant. So depending on your exact growing conditions, your area, they can be ideal for growing over the fall and winter. So I'm going to go ahead and get some more seeds planted in this bed here. And then I'm going to hope that we get a little bit better germination this time around. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and walking through the garden with me today. I know this is probably not one of the more inspiring videos that I've posted. But you know, honestly, this is a real life garden. You know, I'm a real person and this is my real life. And you know, I can't pretend that it's perfect because it's really not. You know, I have the same struggles with the garden that probably many of you do as well. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me through, as I said, through this real life garden and real life struggles. I hope that you guys are still enjoying your garden, even as the season goes on, even as I know it's really hot this time of year in many places, and this is the time of year when the garden can be challenging, although it is also a time when it can be really rewarding as well, when a lot of the harvest is starting to come in. So again, thank you for just walking through my garden with me. I am hoping that some of the seeds that we planted today will germinate and that I'll have a nice fall garden to show you guys. In the meantime, I will try to get you guys a full garden tour really soon, but you know, keep your expectations tempered. I don't know. My garden is not the most picture perfect this time of year. So as I said, real life garden. So thank you guys again so much for hanging out with me and joining me today. I hope to see you again soon. I can't wait to see you next time.